Hey there, campers. My name's Kimmy.
And my name's Ryan.
We've noticed you stumbled upon our mystical campfire, so that means there's a solid chance you have some questions. Like,
why am I here? What's going on? And why are there cryptid and folklore creatures everywhere? And should I be worried about the Mothman dressed as a camp counselor swooping down to steal my s'mores?
Well, you've stumbled upon the Aloreing Campgrounds. Aloreing is a folklore podcast where every episode we dive into the history and lore of different creatures and cryptids you see wandering around these campgrounds.
And during each episode, we discuss the sightings, encounters, poems, history, fun, facts, and pop culture focused on our campfire topic that week. We hope through shared experience we can learn and make light about all the unknown corners of the universe.
So come take a seat around the campfire, make yourself at home, and listen to Aloreing Today anywhere podcasts are heard. Or watch videos on YouTube, or even go to our website, aloreing.com. That's ALOREING.com.
I'm Felicia.
And I'm Ian.
And we are the Paranormal Lovers.
Hello, paranormal dudes, dudettes, and dudays. Welcome back to another episode of the Paranormal Lovers.
Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back to another week, another episode, number 29. What'd you love about this week, Ian?
This week, I loved getting off of work half a day Monday. That was cool. Didn't have to work all day long.
Yeah, that was nice because we had a sick kid that day, so.
Yeah.
Alright, well.
Can't believe the viruses nowadays.
It's really ridiculous. Like, you gotta be another breed of parent to have a kid after the pandemic, during the pandemic.
For some reason, the pandemic, weakened their immune system, so at least that's what the doctors are telling us.
Yeah, because they were in the house for 2 years.
Crazy.
Alright. So, when people talk about the most popular or well-known tourist destination in western North Carolina, what is usually the number one recommendation?
Biltmore.
The Biltmore house.
For sure.
When George Vanderbilt used to visit this area with his mother, he fell in love with Asheville and decided to build his dream home here. George Washington Vanderbilt, was born on November 14th, 1862 in New Dorp, Staten Island, to parents William Henry and Maria Louise Kissam Vanderbilt.
Kissam?
Kissam. Kissam. He was the youngest of 8 children, and there is some debate on whether he was a third or a second, because he had 2 uncles who had the exact same name. But if you go to the Biltmore estate today, it uses George Washington Vanderbilt III.
Right.
The Vanderbilts made their name and money in steamboats, railroad, a family farm, and other businesses, which was great for shy and introverted George because that left him time to focus on learning about philosophy, collecting books, and paintings.
Nice.
He acquired a personal library of over 20,000 books, and I can imagine many, if not all of those books, can be seen today in the library at the Biltmore House.
Sure.
And while you can't get a close look or touch any of the books, I will say that library is stunning. Growing up, George spent time traveling all over the world, and he ended up learning 6 to 8 different languages that he spoke fluently.
Nice.
His father owned several, and I mean several, houses all over the globe, including several homes in Paris, where George spent most of his time with his mother, and an 800-acre estate on Long Island.
Nice.
George inherited $2 million when his grandfather passed away, and was gifted a small loan of about $1 million from his father when he turned 21. He was gifted a small sum of $1 million. It wasn't a loan.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Like a former president, huh?
He who shall not be spoken. Or he whose name shall not be spoken. When his father passed from a stroke in 1885, George inherited $5 million of the $2 million inheritance his dad left.
Wow.
And once he turned 25, he got full access to the income of his $5 million trust.
So like $10 million altogether?
To put it in perspective, $10 million in 1885 is over $313,532,000 today.
Dang.
Like the ultimate
It's a lot of
trust
money.
fund kid. While George ran the family farm in New Dorp, his brother handled the rest of the family business, leaving George time for his his intellectual pursuits. People will be like, well, he's running a family farm. Yeah, but he has people that work for him. He just runs the logistics of it. I don't see George Washington out there actually working the farm.
Right.
Oh, messing with the microphone. In 1888, George bought 125,000 acres of land in and around Asheville. Much of this land came from local family farms, many of which had been exhausted for any further farming. This included the entire community of Shiloh, which is now you get off of exit 50 off of 40. And it's that whole area over there used to be Shiloh.
Right.
He hired architect Richard Morris Hunt to help build his home. To take on this monumental task, a woodworking factory and a brick kiln were built on site. They also built a 3-mile railroad extension to bring supplies onto the site.
Nice.
Now, this did bring some jobs to the area, at least for the duration of the building. It took 1,000 workers and 60 stonemasons to build his home.
Wow.
He then traveled all over the world and spent $5 million, which would be about $180 million today, to purchase decorations and furniture for his house. And calling it a house and a home is kind of stupid because
It's a mansion.
it's a mansion.
Yeah.
When the house was completed, and we thought the Balsam Inn was big, when the house was completed, it stands at 5 stories tall, including the basement, with 178,926 square feet, or 16,622 meters squared of floor space, and 135,280 square feet, or 12,568 meters squared of that is living space.
This place is big, y'all.
It's massive. It is the largest privately owned house in the country, and it is currently owned by one of George's great-grandsons, and is a standing example of this country's Gilded Age.
Right.
George named his home Biltmore as a combination of de Bilt, his ancestral home in the Netherlands, and Moor, M-O-R-E, Anglo-Saxon for moor, M-O-O-R, an open rolling field.
Right.
And because the whole
Place is
estate
open rolling fields.
is an open rolling field.
Right.
Once the house was completed, George would invite his rich friends to come visit for Christmas and to have a country home to get away from the hustle and bustle of being rich, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
On June 1st, 1898, George married Edith Stuyvesant Dresser at the Biltmore house. And there is an iconic photo of Edith on their wedding day standing at the foot of the steps in her wedding dress. She's stunning. The picture is stunning. Love it. Edith was born on January 17th, Pops' birthday,
Nice.
1873, to George Warren Dresser and Susan Fish Leroy in Newport, Rhode Island. Sadly, Edith would become an orphan as she lost both of her parents at the age of 10. She was then raised by her maternal grandmother. People who knew her have stated that she was so kind and compassionate you would never know she was the mistress of the Biltmore house.
Right.
She was very involved with the families of their employees, often giving her daughters hand-me-down clothes to their children. She also made it a point to make gift baskets and bring them to new mothers and to make sure that they had everything that they needed. I guess she understood
That's
the
awesome.
phrase, "it takes a village."
Right.
She was also an advocate for literacy and educational programs. She promoted crafts for women to be able to provide for themselves. And there's a random fact. The YMI, the Young Men's Institute, bought a building from the Vanderbilts for the YMI Cultural Center. And the YMI is an African American cultural center that helps preserve the heritage and culture of African Americans in Buncombe County.
Nice.
George and Edith only had one child, a daughter, Cornelia Stuyvesant. It's a weird name. Vanderbilt was born on August 22nd, 1900.
It's not Svoy Mesto, is it?
No, it's Stuyvesant. Stuyvesant. Although it's probably in some other language.
Sure.
So, just butchering it with my American accent.
He knew like 8 of them. So.
Yeah. When she turned 21, Cornelia, she received an annuity of $2 million. And at age 25, she received her full inheritance of $5 million. And I don't think I've ever said million so many damn times. It just hurts my brain. It can't compute millions.
Right.
After George's death, Cornelia inherited the house, and Edith sold 87,000 acres to the U.S. Forest Service, which became the core of the Pisgah National Forest. So when we lived over in Candler, our backyard was once part of the Biltmore estate.
Nice.
And honestly, probably where we lived was part of the Biltmore estate.
Sure.
On April 29th, 1942, Cornelia married John Francis Amherst Cecil, and they lived at the Biltmore house. They had 2 sons, George Henry Vanderbilt Cecil and William Amherst Vanderbilt Cecil. In 1932, Cordelia moved to New York City, leaving her husband to handle the operations at the Biltmore house. She lived there for about a year, and then she moved to Paris, and in 1934 she divorced her husband. And at this time she reinvented herself. She dyed her hair pink and changed her name to Nilcha, and she never returned to the U.S. or to her family home. She then made her way to London, where she met Vivian Frances Bulkley Johnson. These people have so many names. They married in 1949 and would stay married until his death in 1968. While having dinner with a friend, Cordelia met William Robert Bale Goodsir. He was her waiter that evening, and she fell in love. Their 26-year age difference did not matter to them, which, she was 72, he was 46. At that point.
Not bad.
Who the hell cares? And they got married in 1972. That was her last and final marriage.
Right.
Now, onto the spoopy stuff.
Sure.
Some of the most common reports of paranormal activity come from the library. It is said that when a storm would roll in, George would retreat to his library to read. It is also said that Edith would routinely have to go get him from the library so he could join his guest.
Right.
Reports have stated that when a storm is rolling in, there is a shadowy apparition that moves around the room. And there are also whispers of a female voice calling George's name. So even in the afterlife, the man loves his book, and Edith is still keeping him on track.
Right.
During the heyday of the home, George and Edith would host lavish fancy parties, and sometimes these would go on for days and days and days. And I guess some people were not ready for the party to end. There are reports of the sound of music flowing through the halls, laughter, the tinkling of glasses, as well as the smell of cigar smoke. And it is a non-smoking property, so there should not be the smell of cigar smoke.
Right. Even though they have a cigar room.
Did they have a cigar room?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's just like the cigar room. I think people are just smelling it like throughout random rooms in the house.
Or was it the games room that they'd always smoke in?
I think it was the games room they would smoke in.
Yeah.
Rich people, they have like a men's room and a women's room and a parlor and all kinds of bullshit. So Who knows? Many people have reported seeing apparitions going up and down the stairs, and others get I don't know what that word was supposed to be, but a weird feeling when they go up and down those same steps. All I got was vertigo, because they're very tall steps. But for anyone who would like to go who cannot use stairs, there is an elevator for those who have disabilities or strollers, because I used that bitch on the way back down. I was like, I can't walk down these steps.
Some nice stairs, though.
They are stunning. I could walk up them because you
and everything in there is stunning. But
you walk on the inside of it, but coming back down, you're supposed to walk on that outside where you can look down. Yeah. And I can't. You know me with my height thing. I can't do that because I get vertigo. Mm-hmm. So I use the elevator. In the basement, there is an empty pool that at one time held 70,000 gallons of water.
In the black room.
What's real fun is that it didn't have a pump or anything. Mm-hmm. So every 2 or 3 days, they would have to drain it and refill it. It's a lot of damn water.
It is a lot of water.
There are rumors of a drowning that happened there, although I could find no proof of that during my research. Not saying that it didn't happen, because some rich people wouldn't bat an eyelash at an employee dying on their property, but I find it hard to believe that Edith would have been okay with just sweeping the death of one of their own under the rug.
Right.
That being said, current employees and visitors alike have reported a feeling of unease or downright terror in the pool room, and many have reported the sound of splashing coming from the pool.
Creepy.
It is creepy. I didn't get anything like that down there. I was more like, I want to swim in that bitch.
It's real echoey.
It is. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a massive 70,000 gallon pool that's empty now.
And I mean, it's in the basement, so it's got it's kind of like a cave.
It
almost.
is. Because normally when you would think of an indoor pool, you think of a glassed-in room or something.
Yeah.
But this is in the basement, and it's completely encased in stone.
Yeah.
It's just a stone room. But it was heated, and it had underwater lights. And I thought that was funny that they have this big, massive pool with all this stuff, and yet young Cordelia would sometimes prefer to swim in the fountain.
Sure.
Out front in the yard. I mean, I don't blame her. Not far from the pool is the kitchen. And I don't think I've ever been jealous of a kitchen the way I'm jealous of this kitchen, because it's amazing. And it would seem that the work of the staff is not done, as there have been reports of people seeing people in the kitchen bustling around preparing a meal. And like most houses of the time built by rich people, there are a series of servants' corridors, and unfortunately you can't actually visit those when you go there.
I want to say I went through one time when I was younger.
Yeah?
But that's when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean, that was, 30-something years ago, so they probably have it blocked off now, because everything's kind of roped off. You can't really touch anything. You can't get close to look at stuff.
Some places are.
But I can imagine that's because people are assholes and don't know how to respect other people's property, so they have to treat us like children.
Well, I think there's people, kind of still living in there somewhat.
Yeah, the 4th floor is the family suites, and I don't know if they live there full time. They probably just, come to visit because, rich people.
Right.
But, yeah, the rooms that you can go to and stuff, they have it all roped off with little paths you have to follow. Creepy ass mannequins wearing their clothes. Yeah, like most houses of the time, their servant corridors can't have the guests passing the help in the hall, I guess. And these corridors are believed to be the source of the sound of footsteps that have been reported. And I swear to God, if I die and come back to work slinging pizzas in the afterlife, I'm gonna be pissed. I can't. It sucks so much. You die and you're stuck working for eternity.
I'm going to haunt the plant that I work at.
Damn straight. Other reports include people walking through cold spots. Hey, I'm smelling strange smells. I told you, it's 2:30. I get this every day now.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's a house that's almost 150 years old and over 178,000 square feet. It's going to be drafty.
Sure.
Especially considering there's no central air conditioning or heating.
Nope.
And the windows are not insulated. And it's going to smell weird.
Yeah.
It's just, like I said, they have, like, their clothes and bedding and stuff that's been in that house for almost 150 years. It smells weird.
Sure.
Outside, there have been reports of a headless orange cat in the garden. It is not known if the Vanderbilts had any pets, but this is a quite common report. Along with the kitty cat, people have reported being in the house, looking out the window into the garden, and seeing shadowy apparitions moving around.
Nice.
Now, this is completely random, but I had to throw in here because I found this on a page for another home in Asheville called the Sealy Castle, which we will probably cover at a later date, but I had to include it because holy shit, the conspiracy Batman. There is a Christian fundamentalist who I will not name because she cuckoo banana nut man, but I did include the link in the article, so just look for the one that says Sealy Castle in case you want to read it. Now, this woman claims to be a warrior in God's war against Satanists who are trafficking people to be sacrifices. She claims that Asheville and western North Carolina are meccas for Satanists and pagans to come do their evil rituals and human sacrifices. Stop laughing. She's serious, okay? Now, I will admit, yes, this area does have a large pagan population. Hello, part of it.
Yeah, but most of them are Wiccan.
No. We're getting away from Wicca because that's a bullshit religion too. There is something about getting in touch with nature and energy that can only be found in the Appalachian Mountains.
Sure.
It's just a fact. But this woman goes a little further in her views on the Vanderbilts and the Biltmore house.
Right.
Let's see. She states, quote, "The Satanists in the mountains of North Carolina are never shy about announcing their presence. In fact, they often let it be known they are quite proud of their exploits. But then, why not? The jewel of Asheville, North Carolina is the famed Biltmore estate, former home of the great Illuminati Satanist George Vanderbilt." Stop laughing, it's serious. In his Illuminati mansion, one large room contains a coven's table with 13 seats on either side. On the door is a plaque with the words, "Assemblage of the Gods." End quote.
So, like the dining room?
I guess. Because I'm like...
That's the only one I can think of with 13 seats on, like, each side.
Right, and I also want to kind of beat my head against the wall, because if you're thinking of a coven's table, and you're going off of, like, the bastardized version that a coven has to be 13 witches, which it doesn't. Your coven can be 2 witches, it can be 13, it can be 30.
Sure.
It's going to be 13. It's going to be 13, not 26. Dumbass. 13.
But they have an organ in there.
She went on a little bit, I think, about like...
Sorry, some of Seraphina's flashing through my mind, too.
I actually put that in here, too. So, but it was just, I had to add it in there. I've only been there once, and I've consumed a lot of cannabis since then. So, if this room is real, I didn't see it, or I don't remember seeing it.
Right.
Yeah. But it is possible it's in one of the off-limit areas of the home, but if it was, like, how the fuck would she know about it? But okay.
Sure.
And it is possible that George was involved in some sort of secret society, as many people in that class were, especially in that day and age.
I could see him being a Mason or, being
like
involved
that.
with the Masons to make the house, because, like, that's what they do. They do stonework, but...
And I could see that too, but I don't know. I don't know
either.
This is the same person that claims that people are literally going to the U-Haul store to rent a truck so they can move their sacrifice victims. So, she also claims, like, she found people in a railroad car one time that she had to save, that she was trying to help this one girl, and the Satanist pumped chemicals in her house, in the girl's house, but the girl was the only one affected by it. And, like, she was nuts.
That's nuts.
She was nuts. Yeah, I just thought that was kind of crazy and just wanted to throw that in there. And honestly, you know what? If he was a fucking Satanist, they were giving him a good name, considering the work that they did around the area.
Sure.
Like, I get that a lot of people, their families probably have a lot of anger and stuff, because they did buy up a lot. They bought up like 700 farms.
Yeah.
As part of the purchase, and that's rich people and gentrification. It's bullshit. We get it.
Right.
But they did do a lot of work for the community, and they
Sure.
did help people out. Plus,
I mean, they still bring a lot of people to the area.
yeah, and I mean, it is the biggest tourist trap in western North Carolina. It brings in millions every year.
Yeah.
And I want to say it's like the second largest tourist destination in the country.
Yeah.
So, people are making money off of that.
Sure.
And, as we know from your friend from the Toxic Hail back in the day, true Satanists are some of the best damn people you ever meet.
They really are.
They're not going out there killing people.
No.
That is a Satan worshiper.
Right.
That is not a Satanist. Y'all should do some research on that.
Right.
So, that's the Biltmore house. Lastly, I wanted to touch on what you just said. I want to shout out Robert Betty and his Seraphina novels. They are fiction mystery novels set at the Biltmore house during the time of the Vanderbilts. They are geared towards older kids and teens, as there is some fear involved, but Robert does a great job of telling the history of the estate and the surrounding area. And you have actually been reading Seraphina and the Black Cloak to Patty right now.
Yeah.
And y'all seem to be enjoying it a little bit, even though I was like, read this. Read this to the child. I want you to read it.
I'm liking it.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I've been through the house, so when I'm reading through it, I can kind of visualize some of the scenes in his book.
Yeah. And it is. I think, like, the book itself just has, like, a really good storyline to it, and he does really good on it. And if you actually go on his website, which is also linked in the show notes, he did trailers for Seraphina and the Black Cloak, Seraphina and the Splintered Heart, and then the third one that he did. And he uses his daughter to portray Seraphina, which is really, really cool.
That's cool.
So that, guys, is a little history and some spooky stuff about the Biltmore house and one crazy bitch that got thrown in there with it.
I've seen their old, what was it, the garage for the... What is it? The carriage house?
It was the carriage house, right?
Yeah. I've seen the garage for it too.
Yeah.
Which is actually the old carriage house.
Because you had a friend whose parents used to be like groundkeepers or something there.
Yeah. And like the upstairs of it's all modernized. It's nice. It just looks like a normal house. But the downstairs, when you go downstairs to it, there's old stables down there and stuff.
That's really cool.
It was really cool.
I'm hoping that maybe this year we can go see it once they get it all decked up for Christmas.
That'd be cool.
It is probably twice the price to go during Christmas as it is during the rest of the year.
Yeah.
It's not cheap during the rest of the year.
Sure.
It's like $70, I think, for like a summer ticket, but there's 8,000 acres.
Yeah.
That are still a part of that estate.
The garden's amazing too.
The garden's
I like
amazing.
The garden.
They have like this cool greenhouse that's built out of like brick and glass.
That's the winter garden.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's stunning. I love it. There's like ponds with koi fish that you can see. You can walk all over the estate.
In the winter garden, they have plants from all over the world inside of there because it's a greenhouse, so it's a controlled climate, and they've brought in plants from everywhere there, so you can see some plants that aren't normally here.
And if you're really feeling up to it, you have the money, You can even get married at the Biltmore house, which, if we ever renew our vows when we're rich, we should do it at the Biltmore house. There's also a inn. The Biltmore Inn is up there. There's the Deer Park or Antler Village or something, where they have shops and wine tasting, and it's a pretty cool little area. And then you get down into the Biltmore part of Asheville, and there's shops, and you can see the old architecture and stuff.
My friend his dad is the advertiser for their wine. So that's how they got to be over there.
Tell them to hook us up with some wine, and we'll put them on a pod.
You heard that, Scott.
Tell your dad to
come
bring
on
me
down.
some white, and we will put you an ad on the pod. Alright, guys, thanks for listening. Sorry there's no video this week. No video of our faces this week. We'll get back on that next week. You can follow us on Instagram or YouTube at The Paranormal Lovers, and you can send us an email at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com if you have any requests, comments, personal tales. I'm still waiting on some people to send me some personal tales.
Email us.
Email us. I get a lot of emails from like Reddit and Buzzsprout, but that's about it. Alright, guys. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.